now. You're rocking with the best. You are now rocking with the best.
And we're back with another 605 show.
Wait, start again.
No, that's it. You want to give you a 1, 2, 3, go.
Welcome back. Oh, no, we didn't ever start. Okay, I'll just do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of the 605 show.
With your hosts.
I'm Daniel Card. I almost said I'm Alana Snyder.
I'm Alana Snyder, you big goof.
And I'm Dan Card. This week's episode sounds kind of fun. Make sure I've got the right.
It brings out the hero in all of us.
Heck yeah. The hero?
Because of capes. But we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. All right.
But first.
Yeah, what's on the docket first?
Shameless plug. We have the new issue of 605 magazine. It's our first ever family issue. So we have all sorts of fun stuff. This is from a photographer that is in town that just opened a new studio, Soulless Photography. And we have the South Dakota Discovery Center in Pierre. We have the Tea Play Place in Tea, as you guessed it. All sorts of things. 605 Ninja. I did not go to that because I cannot do anything.
You cannot ninja?
I cannot ninja.
Do you remember who do we have on? Who do we have on that did the silks? Didn't we have somebody on that was doing the silks, or were we just at an event where there were silks?
There was an event, the Cirque.
The Summer Classic.
Yes, the Summer Classic. Yes.
The one of the young ladies that owns 605 Silks went through my cohort, my co-starters.
Oh,
class.
really?
Yeah, and she was
It's
like, "Oh yeah,
pretty
we
hard,
did
right?"
You're not getting my big ass up there. Nope.
Because like they make it look really easy, but they're supposed to. Because
they're athletic and they're pros.
Yeah. No.
Like they train for hours, and I'm like, I did a push-up 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're at right now.
I did a push-up. I did half a push-up.
Yeah.
I always do my knees are on the ground for my push-up. You know.
Oh yeah, so 0.5.
You said "oh me."
I didn't mean that to come across as condescending as it did.
You should see. I wish there was a picture of it, but yeah, Greta, I think, from our team said she was pretty much stuck in the aerial silks for a while at 605 Ninja because that was like her obstacle because they all split up and did different things. But yeah, it's actually like really hard. But I heard that it like tricks you into working out because it's like a video game, but you get to be in it.
Yes, know? So you get a lot more activity than you realize you're getting.
Right.
And like people don't realize that they don't play very much. Like as adults, we don't play like hardly at all. We don't like actually play and enjoy fun. And you know, it's you work out, you go to the gym. It's like weights and stuff like that, or you're on the treadmill,
right?
Like a hamster for 45 minutes, and it's just like it's not very fun. So I think
listening to a podcast about how you need to be working harder and working out harder.
Yeah, grind set. You know what I mean? 15x.
Get swole podcast.
Your optimization. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
if I hear the word dopamine in one more podcast, like this one, dopamine.
We got kind of into that last week. We talked a little bit about some, brain chemistry and hormones and all that stuff. That was maybe enough into.
We got a little below the belt.
Enough we did.
Quite literally.
That was enough into, like, they don't need to hear us talk about science.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They don't need to
because I know nothing about that. But I do know what's going on in South Dakota.
Yeah, talk about events.
Yes, events happening. I'm on the wrong page. So we have Downtown Restaurant Week. Oh, and is Think 3D. They're a big sponsor, correct? Or the sponsor?
We are sponsoring Downtown Restaurant Week. That is correct.
Ooh, delicious. April 7th through the 15th, Downtown Sioux Falls. Reconnect with friends or enjoy a perfect date night with Downtown Restaurant Week. Chefs will be unleashing their creativity and debuting exclusive new dishes for 1 week only. More info, DTSF.com.
Yeah, go check out the site. You'll see some all the menu items are there. There's quite a few photos. So I'm sure some photos are probably courtesy 605. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, 605 Creative Show. Shout out. Not a paid,
Creative Co.
Not a paid ad.
We are on the 605 show.
I know.
We're just it all. We do it all.
We do it all. Yes, we are sponsoring again this year. We think it's important. Anyone who doesn't know, we do organizational culture and a whole bunch of other stuff. But art, music, food, I have a somewhat of a background in the hospitality industry and bar stuff, food stuff. That kind of came up in that industry, so it's very near and dear to my heart. And so it's important for us I like giving people the incredibly talented, creative, hardworking folks who run a lot of the bars, restaurant stuff, especially downtown.
Right.
Some of the best I've seen around. Like, you travel a ton, you go to different places, and you come back here and you're like, yes, there's opportunities here in Sioux Falls. Yes, there's stuff we need still to get, but like, there's a lot of people who are really good at what they do.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. You forget how, if you work downtown, how we eat downtown way more than other people. So this is like the second lunch meeting I had was today, where the person's like, I've never eaten at MB Haskett. And it was like their first time, and they're like, it's really good. I thought they just had like snacks here. And I'm like, no.
What's weird is, like, so he was a finalist. I think Sanaa now is the finalist for the James Beard Foundation. Like, Mike that runs Haskett's has been nominated for multiple awards, like the James Beard Foundation, which is a very prestigious award for chefs. And it's like, yeah, I go there for lunch.
Right.
Or like brunch on a regular basis. Like,
and their prefix dinners are so good. Must.
Super good. So yeah, we're spoiled down here, but we're excited to get down into it. This year's the menus aren't as extensive. It's sometimes some people have a couple items. In years past, we've had people do an entire menu for it. I don't really know the logistics of how all that went down. But.
Yeah. So, and actually, in this issue of 605, we feature Sioux Falls food tours, and she can be hired if she's not already sold out to take you on the Restaurant Week tours that she has going on.
Who runs that?
Hold on one second. I'll get the website
She has to reference the issue.
I must. Oh, there's the 605 Ninja. There's me not experiencing the physical.
Did we get Greta in action, stranded in the silks?
No, I don't think that made it in the issue. She debated putting it in there, but okay, here we are. So it is SiouxFuFoodTours.com. And if you're not familiar, you fool, it is SUFU for the Sioux Foo. And we have Dana Woolwend, sorry if I butchered that, is the owner of Sioux Falls Food Tours.
SiouxFuFoodTours.com.
.com.
We'll throw it in the description.
And if you don't get it for Sioux Falls Restaurant Week or Downtown Restaurant Week, then you can get her for another tour at any time. And she does all sorts of different tours around Sioux Falls.
We love it.
And also, if you're still hungry, there's Forks, Corks, and Kegs, April 14th through the 15th in various locations in Deadwood. Join in on the fun for the 10th annual Forks, Corks, and Kegs event throughout downtown Deadwood. The fun begins Friday evening with Wine Around Deadwood and the appetizer crawl. Ooh, yes. And continues Saturday with Deadwood Dine Around and the Grand Tasting.
I'm sorry, an appetizer what?
Appetizer crawl.
Ooh.
I'd crawl to that app.
That sounds visceral.
I always order too many apps. Naughty. Shut up. This open container event allows you to sample various beers and wine selections and enjoy dishes prepared by local chefs. More info, deadwood.com. It is kind of fun. It's like Vegas for a second when they let you walk around downtown with your beer.
Yeah, we did that. Didn't they used to do St. Patty's downtown like that? Do they still do that down here?
Down here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Not
so they
anymore.
used to do like 14th or 12th to like 6th and Phillips or 8th and Phillips was open container.
What happened to the days?
I don't know. We used to be a country, you know?
I want my beer on the streets.
Yeah, I want my unbridled,
Right,
unchecked,
to stand in a street.
sheer unmitigated gall back. That's what I want.
Oh my gosh. And then there's the Black Hills Dance Festival, April 27th through the 29th at the Monument in Rapid City. Get up and dance your heart out at the 27th annual Black Hills Dance Festival. Whether you are an experienced or non-experienced dancer, you will learn a multitude of dance styles, including swing dance, country, Latin, and line dance throughout the weekend's various workshops and dance performances. More info, blackhillsdancefestival.com. What dance would you learn?
Probably a sidestep or like something more. Okay.
Dude,
something more
those
traditional.
line dancers know how to party.
I don't get down with that. Oh,
Wait, do you specialize in any dancing?
no.
Great.
Take
Good talk.
a good. I want the people at home to see this too. Take a good look at this frame. Do I strike you as somebody that specializes in any kind of dancing?
I mean, I can see you could dance with a cane.
Oh Jesus!
Well, tap dance.
Tap dance with the hat.
Tap
and cane
dance
and
into
and
retirement.
yeah, get out of here. Not that old.
Tap dance with this CD with 3 easy payments. Oh,
No, I would get down with some dancing. Who knows? Who knows what's possible?
Either that or you can just watch, which is what I would do if I went to the Black Hills Dance Festivals. I would definitely just be watching other people do things that I can't.
It's a weekend, right? It's 2 days.
2 days.
Later this month.
Let me check it out again. It is
Yeah.
April 27th through the 29th. And I've never been to the monument yet at Rapid City. Have you?
No.
So, yeah.
I think that's
check it out.
recently been finished, and I haven't had a good reason to go that way. Sometimes we get work out there, but it's been about a year
Yeah.
since
And
we
then
were out there.
is the box open yet?
No, we are in the developing phases of doing our CultureCon, trying to move that out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if so, we'll be one of the first events in the box in Box Elder. If that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, the box is so if you're familiar with like the Sanford Pentagon, it's going to be like kind of a similar model for the sports type of events and concerts and all the things. Weddings.
It looks cool. It's I think it's a needed thing. The more and more that side of the state grows and the more that community grows, we need some cool event centers out there, and we're excited to be out there. So see how it goes.
They're excited to have you.
I hope so.
You know who I'm excited for?
Who are you excited for?
Stacy Teasin. Burp, burp. You can come over now.
Yeah, come on down.
She's waiting in our non-existing green
I love
room.
it. It's the best green room I've ever been in.
It's a blue room.
It's a blue.
You guys can't see that if you're watching this. If you've only ever listened to us, then you're missing out. But if you're watching this, it looks like gray with accents, but the whole rest of the studio is blue. So it's a blue room.
That's a beautiful picture you painted there.
Thank you. Simple, straightforward.
Actually, for our green room, we just make guests stand in the corner like Blair Witch Project.
Face against the wall.
Like, don't look at me until I see your name. Okay, that got really weird. Okay,
Did
Stacy.
did you used to work on the Ellen show? Because that sounds like,
Okay, do you actually believe that?
I don't know.
Do you
We'll-
believe
we'll
Ellen is
offline
crazy?
I think that she could have her moments.
That's crazy. She's like a lovable teddy bear when the camera's rolling.
So I would like to think that lots of people probably are.
Yeah.
Wait,
What
and
you
can you
see
even
is
say
not
that
what you
anymore?
get.
Cameras are rolling, or do you?
I think it's like the same thing when say roll the window down. We don't actually roll the window down. We just press the window down.
Oh, yeah, but it's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Roll that tape back. No, okay.
Let's do it.
But anyways, welcome. Welcome,
Thank you.
Stacy. You are the executive director of CASA.
Yes. Court-appointed special advocates. So sometimes people are like, it's a house. No, it's not. It's where we are helping kids who've experienced abuse and neglect, trying to get them connected with an advocate who is taking their best interests to court and letting the judge know how moms and dads are really doing, because our goal as a program is to reunify families if it's at all possible. And sometimes it's not possible, and those are hard days. But when we get to that spot, we know that that's really, the spot. It's usually 2-3 years that those kids have been in foster care waiting, and moms and dads have relapsed, really struggled. I know it's a lot of conversation right now, but mental health for our families is unbelievably poor. And so just being able to recognize that these kids need more than what they're getting in their home environment.
So, what ways do you help with that?
Well, we have volunteer advocates. So to be a volunteer advocate, you have to go through an interview process, pass the background check, be at least 21 years of age, and then go through 30 hours of training, where we don't attempt to make you an expert, because we can't, but we give you all the things that we think you're going to need, the tools. So we're going to go a little bit in depth on substance abuse, child abuse, poverty, homelessness, mental health struggles. We have guest speakers from programs in Sioux Falls like, I'm going to say Children's Inn because the other one's too hard for me to remember, but Children's Inn, Child's Voice, that comes and explains a little bit about what the violence, what neglect, what those things, child maltreatment looks like. And then we have them get sworn in by the judge. So that's a really cool moment when they get to actually be that superhero and promise to uphold the Constitution of the state of South Dakota and the United States of America. And then they pick a case. And they look through, make sure there's no conflicts, like maybe they know that person from school or somewhere, make sure there's no conflicts, and then they get started. and they really get to know everything about that family. They are primarily focused on the children, but if we're being honest, those kids have parents who are just experiencing generational trauma themselves. Those moms and dads were probably in foster care, were also not taught how to be good parents, and unfortunately then that just trickles down into poor parenting. And we have kids who've just seen things and heard things, and I mean, you see it in the news, but it happens much more often than the stories that get into the news.
Why is that, by the way? Like, why do you think that is? That it's just like people don't want, like, why isn't it reported more in the news?
I'm not sure. I mean, if I had my way, I'd talk about it every single day because it needs to be. Sioux Falls is a beautiful community. We're a very compassionate community, but I think people really do not understand the underbelly of some of the issues that are happening in our families. Ask a teacher at some of our poverty schools, and they're going to tell you, they'll know because they'll be able to pick out what kids. Their teachers are our number one reporter for child abuse, so they're experiencing it every single day. But I don't know what stories make it to the news or why they make it to the news. I just know that we had 463 children that came through our program last year, and I'm promising you that probably none of those stories actually were on the news.
So you said you had 463 children through your program?
Yep.
Which is even in a community, like we say the size of ours, because I think a lot of times people think that we're a large community, but we're still a relatively small community. And that's a lot.
That's one whole elementary school if you wanted to look at it from that perspective.
I was just going to say it's like a high school class.
Yeah.
Probably.
Entire class.
But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that people can easily not know about because it's not happening to their child, or if they have a problem child that their kid is struggling with at school, it's probably a correlation of something that's going on at home, but there's not a deep dive into why is Junior acting like this. And, maybe last night he saw his mom get beat, and then he got put in foster care because dad got arrested and mom had to go to the hospital, and the situation just started.
Oh yeah, I still have guilt thinking about certain people in high school or middle school that people would make fun of because they quote didn't shower and they were stinky. Mm-hmm. Well, there's so much more behind that.
Yes.
And it's but when you're a jerk kid and there's not enough training or talks about it, you don't know any better, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep.
But so you have a fundraiser or things coming up? What's going on?
We have all kinds of fun things coming up. I like it when you talk about the fundamentals. For us, we do 2 fundraisers a year, and right now we're about to launch our Red Cape event. We picked Red Cape because our volunteers are superheroes. I mean, they are asked to do a lot. It's not your average volunteer experience where you go do something and you're done. You're looking at an 18-month to 2-year commitment, maybe longer. We've had volunteers on cases for 3 years. There's a lot of ups and downs. Parents make progress. They're doing really well. And then, I don't know, mom gets a new boyfriend, picks another guy like the last guy, and it kind of all just blows up again. And so when we're asking people to volunteer, we're just like, come on. And so we need them. So just being able to find them is a big struggle for us, especially since COVID. A little bit of, I think, fatigue got in there. But what we're asking volunteers to do is just get to know everyone involved in the family, and then they are writing a report to the judge. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be anyone with a legal background. We're going to help you through all of that process. But that report goes to the judge, and she has said on numerous occasions that she goes to our reports first when she needs to know how to make a decision. And so when we talk about fundraisers and ways we can raise money, this one is a lot of fun because we go around town in capes. Tonight we're going to light the Arc, the Falls, and we've got the State Theater marquee lit up for Red Cape Week. And ultimately just recognizing that we can't do this without our volunteers, and we desperately need more of them. But it's a fundraiser for social media. I mean, we just, everything hashtags, Red Cape 2023, Sioux Falls CASA. So if you're putting it out on Facebook or social media, Instagram, wherever it might be, we want to see it so that we can share it. We'll make a great video for it at the end. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is just spread awareness. April's Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. So connecting that, and then also recognizing that we've been here for 28 years, and we're not in lack of kids being referred to our program. If that ever happened, I'd be very joyous.
Yeah, but it's not to be the bearer of bad news. I don't foresee that going away. So it's a needed thing, and I think COVID only made it worse, and maybe not made the thing worse because I think that's been happening. But a lot of people didn't realize you send some of these kids home, and a lot of people were happy to be home. But I think I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. For a lot of kids, going home is not
That's a very bad idea.
school. The 8 to 10 hours they spent at school was the best part of their day.
There's breakfast, there's lunch,
get
there's
fed.
interaction with people who care.
Yep. And that's the only time during their day that they get focused on in a positive way. And people don't realize that their home life is not something where they
Agree.
need to be home stuck all day. And it's a difficult thing for some to wrap their heads around. But I don't think, and especially like you said, with mental health seeming to get worse across the board. And I don't know if that's a lag response from the pandemic or if that's just because people are getting more and more aware of what's normal or healthy. I hate to use the word normal, but like what's healthy and what's not, and put into context like, oh, this is not the way that people should be operating or thinking or feeling. I don't know what it is, but like with that on the rise,
I just think with the whole thing with COVID is the teachers' eyes weren't on kids. And so we were really concerned what was going to happen with that level of non-observation. And I don't think our numbers haven't gone up through COVID. We really thought they would go down a lot, but they didn't. They pretty much stayed the same. But when you talk about that mental health thing, that's really where it's at. And parents are coping in ways that are so unhealthy, and then children are seeing this, and there's no recourse for them. They don't have an outlet. They don't have someone in there going, okay, it's going to be all right, unless they have an advocate like CASA, because they're going to meet them at school. They're going to meet with them in the foster home. They're going to get to know their likes, dislikes, get to play card games with them. And then, that information is going to go into a report to the judge, and it's going to outline the strengths and the concerns, what mom's doing well, what dad's doing well, what's not going right. And then request a continuance. If we get to the spot where we're requesting a termination of parental rights, that's a big responsibility for a volunteer. But they're not making that alone. We're going to get there together with the help of their case manager and the support of our office, our program. But just recognizing that this stuff happens in Sioux Falls, I think, is a big deal. And it happens across the state. I just want to give a shout out to the other CASA programs in South Dakota, because there are 6 of us. And since you are a 605 magazine, I just want to make sure that people recognize that they could be a volunteer at any one of those other programs. And they're always just as much looking for volunteers as I am. And the thing is, at this point, we have 66 counties. 37 of them are covered by CASA.
Nice.
We have no tribal CASA coverage. So that's always a big issue, especially for us. We have a disproportionate number of Native American kids that come into care. It'd be lovely if we could find more Native American healthy volunteers to be able to support those kids. But across the state, those 6 programs, including ours, are desperately in need of volunteers. And so whatever I can do to help support them helps me too.
And you're looking for about 100 volunteers?
That's our campaign.
Hey.
Yes. And we get new cases almost every single day. There were 5 temporary custody hearings yesterday. Temporary custody hearings are when kids come into care, and then the judge hears what were the reasons the kids came into care and decides whether those kids can go back home or whether there needs to be further information taken and those kids need to stay in foster care. So knowing that, then 100 CAPES would help significantly reduce our wait list. 463 kids last year, we covered about 173 of them with volunteers. Cool. So we're not even at 50%. While it's awesome that we've got the ones covered that we do, I would love to say we have no wait list. That would be the dream.
That is. So what's the website and everything that people can go to for that if they're interested in learning more? SiouxFallsCASA.org, and you can go ahead and look at any of the stuff on there. We've got information about the Red Cape. There's information on there on how to volunteer, including the application, and then just any other information about us. And of course, the other ones all have their own websites too. You can just Google CASA in South Dakota, and you'll find the information that you need. We are all responsible for our own area, so we represent Minnehaha and Lincoln County, so we're the 2nd Judicial Circuit. And then there's the others. There is nothing yet in Aberdeen or Pierre, so those are the 2 big areas that are missing coverage. But the other parts of the state have some really good executive directors and teams that are working their butts off to try to get kids CASAs.
You might have already covered this, but I just want to ask it specifically. Who do you want? Like, when you think of like your ideal volunteer, I know that there's like obviously anyone who's willing to help, right? But is there a specific type of background, or like should they be mentally and emotionally prepared for certain things? Like, what sort of things do they need to be good at, prepared for, or
we've had that conversation some because people who have experienced abuse and neglect themselves and are, sometimes very interested in being volunteers because they know what it's like. We need to vet those very clearly and make sure that they're in a good spot in their own lives to make sure that they're not triggered by situations that they might encounter. Yeah. But we really want people who are committed, compassionate, open-minded. We have children who are transgender. We have children who are lesbians and gays. We don't determine that. If they are in an unsafe home environment, then they need to be someplace where they can feel safe. So we're looking for anyone who can be open-minded, but also be responsible. We're asking you to meet with these kids twice a month, and that has to happen. And then you also have to work on that report. I mean, our volunteers are supported by their case manager, but that case manager is not writing that report for you. Well, they don't want to. So they really are asking you to put that time and effort in. You don't have to have a college education. You just really have to care and pass that background check, because we don't want people who have done bad things to kids somehow get access to more kids. So we'll do that. Yeah, that's
important. And I think what you said about like the being too close to it. Sometimes people who have been too close. Like I used to work in, I worked in like boys' homes. So I had a couple of boys' homes around, and being too close to like my background, being too close to that, I was like, it was a very difficult industry to be in. And so being mindful of that is important. But yeah, anybody who's able to step in, they do really just 1-to-1 then, right? Like the one volunteer.
You get assigned one family. So
at a time.
Yep. And with a brand new volunteer, we try not to give you more than 2 kids at a time, just because you're learning as you're going. But we have some volunteers who are just simply phenomenal and been around a while, and they'll take those kids with the families with 6 kids. Because you have to meet with every single one of them twice a month. And
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we average
kids.
about 2.5 kids per case. So it's not too often that we get those larger families, but we have had them. And when they come into care, it's a big deal, because finding foster parents for them, give a shout out to those too. Foster parents are needed as well. Just recognizing all the way around, as April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, there's so many supportive programs in this community that are trying to help our kids in foster care. And there's a place for anyone in this community who really wants to help kids in foster care. Just pick a topic and go forth. There's always the foster network that's looking for clothing items for kids, because they come into care in the middle of the night. I mean, if you're taking on a new foster and you don't have supplies, the foster care network can help you with that. They've got a closet, all kinds of things. The big thing is we don't want kids feeling like they're nothing, because oftentimes they get told to pack up their stuff and it gets shoved in a garbage bag, and then they're going to a foster home. And those foster home people are awesome, but they're not mom and dad. And so sometimes that transition is just really hard. It might be the perfect house, but these kids don't know that their home in life wasn't normal. They think that this is my mom and this is my dad, and I love them. And
right.
the fighting that happens, the stuff that happens, that's what happens in everybody's home, right?
Right.
And sometimes the foster homes aren't awesome.
No,
so
that would
on occasion, on occasion, those are not the case.
Right, and that's again why we need advocates in there that are connecting and getting into that foster home to make sure. Because sometimes those foster homes aren't. But for the most part, I like to think that people get into service because they want to do good.
Yeah, absolutely. What other questions do you have? I got a couple, but like, do you have questions?
Here, you fire away with your questions, because then we have a true or false game.
Oh,
true or false.
Ooh, interesting. So we'll see how this goes. You said 20. You said 28 years has the CASA's been around. What was that origin kind of like for the organization?
It was really small. I've been with CASA for 5 years. And Judge Paul Keene, I'm always going to give him a mad shout out. He came and spoke at our 25th anniversary a couple years ago, and so proud of us. And I love that the originator of the program is still in contact with us, still donates to us. It's huge. But the Junior League of Sioux Falls and Judge Paul Keene got a little inclination, got word of this program out of Seattle. And it's the same scenario that it was founded in 1977 in Seattle by a judge, and he was just simply overwhelmed by the stacks and stacks of paper on his desk, and he knew he couldn't do what was in the best interest of kids, just didn't have the time or the ability to go through all of that. And so it started as a tiny little nonprofit, did our first training in April of 1995, and here we are trying to accomplish 8 trainings a year now. We went online with COVID because we were just trying to be careful. So our trainings are 4 in person and 4 online. Our online has kind of lagged a little. Yeah. It was pretty good. Not that our training isn't good, but people are much more interested in being face-to-face again, and so we're respectful of that. We just would really like all of our classes to be full. Yeah.
What's your, walk me through a little bit of your background getting into this. You said, so you've been with the organization 5 years. Mm-hmm. Why this kind of work? There's a lot of nonprofit work. There's a lot of service work. Some of it more difficult than others. Mm-hmm. This being one of the ones that I would imagine is way more difficult to just see and experience. So, walk me through that for you. What was that like coming into this, and why this work specifically?
To be honest, it's always been where I have been. When I graduated from college, I started working at Boys Town down in Omaha.
Okay.
So I've always worked with kids who've been removed and placed into hopefully healthier situations. And when I was 21 years old, what did I know? I'm like, these kids are so horribly forgotten about. And but I loved everything about Boys Town in their model and how they taught common sense parenting. I can still repeat all the lessons I learned on how to get someone to follow instructions with the point system. And so that, and then when I was done living in Omaha and came back home to Sioux Falls, I started working at Turning Point, which is now Volunteers of America. Okay. And I've kind of done it all. I've done Volunteers of America, Southeastern, Children's Inn. I worked there for 6 years. Okay. And then 15 years at the city and the county working on homeless issues. And then so from that spot to this is how I got here. And same families, same scenarios, same difficult situations, but this time advocating on the side of the kids.
Nice.
And how much have you slept?
Well,
0 hours.
I just got a new dog. So a puppy. So my daughter, who's 8.5, is insistent that she was going to take care of it. Not so much. So not so much sleeping in the last couple of weeks, but
You've been
overall,
bamboozled.
right? Overall, though,
What kind of dog are we talking about?
It's a Bassador, Basset Hound and Labrador.
Oh my gosh.
okay.
You need to show me a picture of
Yeah.
it.
He's super cute.
As long as it's no any kind of like oodle or poodle or doodle. Listen, people, leave the poodles alone.
I went to the dog park, and speaking of trauma, there was a half pit bull, half chihuahua.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened. I don't
What?
want to know. But speaking of people being triggered,
I don't even know what that does. Wow.
I just walked away. I had too many questions. I was like, this.
That's the worst combination.
can't even.
Because pitties have great personalities. They really do at their core. And so I think they're some of the best, most misunderstood dogs. I don't want to say misunderstood dogs. And Chihuahuas are the worst.
Oh.
The worst. By and large. Pound for pound across the population of dogs.
Whatever happened to Taco Bell Chihuahua? Oh, he's probably dead, huh?
He's probably dead. Life expectancy's not great. Temperament's not great. Health isn't
So
great.
you really like them.
Yeah.
But that Target dog is still around. It must
Spot?
be. Yeah, do you think Spot's on like spot number 80?
Is that the terrier, right?
Yeah.
The bull terrier with the he's got the No, he's a good dog, robust dog, hardy, For some reason
Brings
though,
back
like
memories of Spuds McKenzie. And,
Spuds McKenzie, the crime dog. Yep. But no, pit bull and Chihuahua folks, come on, what are you doing? What's next?
I was trying to teach the youngsters in my office about Scruff McGruff.
youngsters.
the youths. I was like, you guys don't know who Scruff McGruff is? I don't know how he came up, but
Yeah. No, somebody else mentioned. It's funny because somebody else in the last week or two to me mentioned Spuds McKenzie, or like the drug prevention dog, And I was like, that's it's like a throwback reference. That's a deep cut.
top of mine right now.
Yeah.
Why?
But speaking of spudding, I can't do that transition very smoothly. We'll see how this goes.
Not the smoothest day for your transitions, and I'm gonna put this. I'm
I thought I had some good ones earlier.
I'm gonna turn this off because this thing has been going off nonstop.
What is it?
So my phone.
Oh,
I can feel it buzzing.
I thought it was like a program. It is
No.
my phone. Yes, okay.
You're
So
so
I
very
apologize
popular.
if you guys listening to this can hear that vibrating. It's
The
just
man's getting married, okay? People are calling him.
I don't know if that's how that works.
Oh,
But-
well, I'm
don't know if
not
they're
saying
related. I
these
don't know if
ladies in the streets. Be calling. They know he's about to walk down the aisle. They're trying to get one more call in, okay? Anyway, so here
I'm
is
just not touching that one.
true or false.
Ooh.
And if this game is meh, blame Greta. CASA was founded in 1980. True or false?
I'm going to go with false. 1977.
Correct.
Thank you.
By Judge David
Sukup.
Suko.
That's the guy out of Seattle then.
Out of
that found
Seattle,
it.
yep.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
How do you know? Okay.
Well-
80, what?
She said a different guy's name earlier. Who was the judge?
Judge
local?
Paul Keene, that's ours
Okay, because I was
locally.
going to say, I read the script. Greta, I read the script.
I was prepared.
I read the script. I was prepared, and it was not Paul Keene that I read in the name, so I'm assuming.
He just wants to admit that he read the script. 82% of CASA volunteers are female. True or false?
I think that's true.
Interesting.
Because our hearts are extra big. I don't know why I'm glaring you down.
No, it's fine. It's understandable. I'm the guy at the table, so you can
So
you can
you.
direct that here. I don't know why that is. I I imagine, because I think there's a potentially over the large scale, I think women might just be more likely to volunteer at things than men, because I've worked with the banquet and worked with other places, and by and large, you see a much more population, like a female population.
When I volunteer at the
giving that
banquet, I
time.
like to be the milk person.
With the tray or the person
the
pouring
person-
with
Because
you
people
got all,
love the milk. And
Yeah,
then you're
they
very
come back up.
popular.
Yeah.
You get all the gossip.
Nice.
On average, CASA volunteers work about 10 to 15 hours a month. True or false?
Wow, good. These are great questions. True.
Oh, okay. Good job, Greta.
Is that primarily clarifying questions? So is that primarily visits?
Yep. Or reaching out to contacts. And then sometimes when you do the average of it, the working on your reports. Is everything you do, like every visit, we want documentation
Yep.
of, so that we have a database system that we ask them to try to put stuff in within
For
5
sure.
days of contact. So, yeah.
paperwork? Am I
That
right?
makes sense.
The first CASA meeting had 50 people. True or false?
That'd be amazing. That's a false.
It's true,
It's the first CASA meeting?
I guess. The Suka expected 6 or 7 people
I
to
don't
show
know
up,
about
and
that.
he was encouraged by the turnout.
Can I go? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
play the-
That's impressive in
impressive.
1977.
Right?
well, that's impressive in 1977 to get that turnout. I was talking about Greta digging deep into the facts.
That's huge. Yeah, I don't know this
Never
fact.
underestimate Greta's creeping.
Well,
because
mad
that's a
props.
deep cut.
Yeah,
to go,
I
you
did not know
who
that.
Did she call? Did she call like this
Maybe on
guy's
their
granddaughter?
website.
It was actually
You know.
the Suka man himself.
She called him. He's still alive.
he's still kicking it. Unlike the Taco Bell Chihuahua.
Oh, that poor thing.
We're bringing it back.
In memorandum.
CASA, court-appointed special advocates, volunteers, and gals, guardian ad
Lightums.
litem. I was going to say litum. Are the same thing. True or false?
Technically true. The program, the national CASA that we report to, is a CASA GAL. So yes,
Well,
but they do
she
different
says
things.
false.
Yes, it depends on where you're at. But like in some places, the guardian ad litem might actually be an attorney. It might be a paid position. We are strictly volunteer advocates. We don't pay you as much as we would love to. We just simply couldn't do it.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are some of your people attorneys? Do some people or case managers like in their day to day, or is it truly just volunteers from the community who want to make an impact?
Yeah, I don't think we have. Bill's pretty awesome. He's a retired public defender. Not that many. Alicia, we
Yeah.
hired on as a staff, but she's
Yep,
an
she's paid,
attorney.
yep.
But she's also a volunteer, so she's been with us for 10 years. For the most part, not. I would
Interesting,
say
yeah.
that it's not something that resonates for attorneys to want to do it. You would think so because you're writing all this legally stuff, but it's really not. If you're looking at the report, it's a story about that kid's life, how they came into care, what the situation was, how things have progressed, and then if there's any special needs, like are they struggling at school? Are they in need of like maybe their teeth are unfortunately bad, glasses, things that might be overlooked, or mom never took them to school, so they're way behind and they should be in 3rd grade, but they're not even ready for kindergarten.
Yeah.
When you think about that learning delay and you look at some other awesome programs out there like Promising Futures that Steve's taking care of, and recognizing that those schools with high poverty are for the most part a lot of our kids.
Dang. Sorry, I was like, it's getting real.
It is.
It's pretty heavy.
Stewardship is one of CASA's values according to the website. True or false?
True.
True. CASA's other values are adaptability, collaboration, integrity, respect, quality, and service.
There you go.
I mean, you're selling me. I'm kind of liking this. CASA is, I might be setting up. CASA is not just about volunteering, but also asks its supporters to advocate for legislation. True or false?
That might be true, but we don't. We recognize the fact that the laws are the laws and we work within them. There are some laws that I would like to change, and I would love for South Dakota in some ways to be much more progressive like Minnesota. It's very hard when you're working on a case and the mom has had 6 or 7 children terminated on, and we have to go through the whole process again from the beginning for a whole year, even though we know mom is unfortunately not capable of making the changes necessary to be a good
I didn't
parent.
think about that. That would be
There's so many benefits and trade-offs, and this is not like to get into that, but like there's so many benefits and trade-offs to living in a state that has like the value system that we do, like, but that in this area is one of them, like for sure. Like it's frustrating when you see that people having to start back at square one.
When that baby is
and it's
born
not.
with HIV, syphilis, and has methamphetamines in their system, and you have to start at square one when you know mom's already just had 3 or 4 kids terminated on, and she hasn't changed since that happened, or she didn't even know she was pregnant and she did no prenatal care and she shows up at the hospital with stomach pains. I mean, there's every scenario. These children have experienced some horrific things. Our numbers for last year in regards to physical abuse are higher than they've been in a long time. And so when we start talking, neglect is the number one reason that kids come into care. And it's not because there's bed bugs or there's lice or something like that. It's a whole combination of things, but mostly because of the substance abuse. Mom leaves them locked in a room and disappears for days. And, people can hear them crying on the other side of the apartment wall, that sort of thing. But when these kids are coming into care, it's for legit reasons. No one's trying to steal babies. No. There's not any of these scenarios that seem to make it in.
Well, those are extreme scenarios. And people that want to think whatever will paint the picture of that being the case. But my curiosity is, where do we fall across the country? Where all of this stuff, so the child abuse, the neglect, the cases, the volume, because it seems like there's a significant volume of cases that you're dealing with, but we're number 4, or I should say that would be 46 out of 50 population wise. So we're low population wise. So where do we rank as far as that goes? Do you have any insight on that?
In foster care last year, we had about 1,500 kids in the state of South Dakota that came through. So we're not that high, but I think the level of issues that we're dealing with are much more. National CASA is working on a new strategic framework, and they did a little scenario, and I know I don't know what I don't know, but it's talking about dad having a one-time issue and drinking too much and hitting the child. No. We're not there. That's not the situation. We're having moms and dads who are serious meth addicts, who are drinking a lot, who are unstable in their relationship and hurting each other severely, and the child witnessed it all. We've had kids who, have they weren't aware whether mom was dead or not. She's passed out on the floor with a needle in her arm and covers him up with a blanket because she thinks he's sleeping, or they don't really know what's going on with them. So I would say that probably in the grand scheme of things, we're not that high up on numbers, but the number of kids that
saturated. The issues are
pretty heavy, and we're not going to get through with a one and done kind of a thing. We have to address the whole person. My big spiel that I've been doing since I started working on homeless issues a couple years ago is social determinants of health. We need to address all the pieces from education, the community supports, the healthcare access, the mental health stability issues, all of it, substance abuse, but we just simply sometimes don't have some of the resources. I think there was an article in the paper or the news the other day about the number of mental health care providers. They're just not out there. Yeah. And so for our kids to have to wait 3-4 months, you're in foster care and you're waiting to see a therapist because there's no one available, or the ones that are available are booked, and you take a number because you'll eventually get in to be seen. But in the meantime, your teacher and the foster parents are dealing with a lot of behaviors. None of it's the child's fault, but they don't have the coping skills. They don't have the words to say some of the bad things that have happened to them or what they've seen, and we're trying to reunify. So these kids are going to see mom or dad in prison, and that's the perpetrator. So it's hard to think about some of the situations and how the laws, the purpose is reunification. Everyone's goal from the state to us is reunification if at all possible. Sometimes I think that the reunification is not possible, but it happens anyways. Yeah.
So it's a complex thing. I think I wish more people would think about it from just the baseline of quality of health. Yes. Or quality of life, excuse me.
Quality, quality.
What's end result? Mm-hmm. You have to be responsible for the end result. Is this going to result in a better quality of life?
I saw a statistic on a national CASA presentation the other day that said 80% of people on death row were in foster care. 80%. I don't even know what to do with that statistic. That's frightening to me. And then I say, again, I don't control any of the big picture stuff, but I look at, we have $400 million that just got allocated to build a new prison. Great. It's around since 1881. We need to do that. This is my personal opinion, not CASA, so excuse me there. But if we can build a prison for $400 million, we can put $400 million into supportive services for our families.
Right.
If not some.
Something.
For sure.
Where
are we at with this?
I think I have nothing left.
I know. I think we covered all of it. Thanks for letting me go off script a little bit.
Yeah, no,
I love your passion. Really That's good. Yeah.
Yes, and you're very good at this, obviously. My gosh. How do you not get, what do you do if situations stress you out?
That's a good question. Yeah. How do you recharge? How do you cope?
Can I just say that I have the most awesome staff? Our CASA team is phenomenal. Teresa, all of them. Teresa's been around for 16 years. She's our program manager. She's the one that goes to court every day, and she hears these things firsthand, every single temporary custody hearing. And so I honestly am in awe of all of the ladies that work in our office. the volunteers who are naive is never the right word, but that are so optimistic and they go into this thinking that they can help make change. Those are the people that I love because it will change. It might not be the outcome that we want, but you
Right.
being involved absolutely has a positive impact on that child's life. And we have, like, Diane's been a volunteer with us for 16 years. The girls that she first worked with were trafficked by their own dad, and he sold them, well, he didn't sell them. He gave them meth to, you might as well do it with me. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it with me. And so she stays in contact with both of them, and just that level of connection at the most awfulest time of your life, whether you're 2 or 5 or 17, really has a change impact that lasts.
For sure. They'll never, ever, ever forget that. So that's crazy.
Well, thank you for the work you do. It's not easy. It's probably messy sometimes, but it's got to be done. So
It's
I
messy
appreciate
every
that.
day,
Yeah.
but it matters. I mean, and I think that's the big thing is what we do every single day when we put the key in the door at the CASA office
Yep.
is change. And it might not always be the change that we want, but we know that with what we're doing, we're impacting lives.
So if somebody can't volunteer, that's not realistic for them. How else can they support you guys?
Donations are always good. We always need money. We're obviously not charging the kids that come into care for our services. So that's a great way. Otherwise, social media is our best friend. Come get a cape, meet us at the falls tonight. Anything that you can do to share our stuff on Facebook, that always works great. I love to see people sharing our posts. And if you have a business that you work with, let us come talk about CASA, get us some volunteers. I mean, if you're a business that gives time to your employees to do volunteer work, consider us. I know we're not the same as a 2-hour one and done kind of a thing, but if you could figure out how to let your employees do that, we would be grateful.
Cool.
Awesome. Website one more time.
SiouxFallsCasa.org.
SiouxFallsCasa.org.
Be someone's hero. Go buy a cape.
Go buy a cape. Go
Don't
show
even have to
up.
buy them. I'm giving those to you for free. The
Oh.
cape is free.
But give her
Well-
money when you grab
Oh,
it.
yes. Yes,
Free
please.
case.
Don't turn down the money.
No, you sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm bad at this fundraising thing. So,
Free capes.
Well, thanks for joining us.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you for letting me. Appreciate the time.
No, this
Another-
it's been informative. It's good stuff.
Another 605 show.
Another 605 show, perhaps the most informative and heavy and grounded
I agree.
605 show.
And I learned a lot. So
Are
thank
we
you.
taking a new direction? Who knows?
I'm confused.
Anyways,
we're out.
this has been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next time,
Till next time.
we'll see you later.
Bye.
you.